Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
And I'm Jordan Pridgen.
And today, we continue to talk about Final Fantasy Precons, and we are upgrading number 14.
Yes.
Well, Final Fantasy 14, this is Scions and Spellcraft.
Which numerically makes it the final Final Fantasy Precon, although I don't know if we'll release it in order like that.
No, yeah, they won't come out in order.
14 is the
We're jumping around.
Number of Precon.
Yes. This is an Esper deck. It's blue, it's white, it's black. It cares about non-creature spells, specifically ones that are 3 and greater. We're going to get into everything that comes in this pre-constructed deck when you buy it off the shelf. And we're going to give you 10 cards to add and 10 cards to cut to get it in peak fighting shape. So you can play and kick your friends' butts with it. But before we get into it, if you want to pick up this Precon, these cards, or any of these products behind us, you can go to cardkingdom.com/command. They've got a huge selection of singles, sealed product, all of the cards that you need to to always be building.
Yep. ABB, always be building.
Always be building. That's my motto.
Yep.
If you're a Final Fantasy fan, which is probably why you're here, there's a ton of new Final Fantasy cards. You can pick up the singles there. Eventually, they're still on pre-order at this time because we're trying to get these out as fast to you as possible.
Yep.
They spoiled them like way earlier than they normally do. Anyway, you can pre-order all of your stuff for Final Fantasy at cardkingdom.com/command, and you can pick up some other cards there, and you're supporting the show as well. And then, once those cards are in your hand, you can sleeve them up, keep them protected, make them look cool by going to ultrapro.com/command, getting the highest quality Magic accessories in the business. Sleeves, playmats, binders, deck boxes, card sorting trays, wall scrolls, dice bags, plushes that you could turn into dice bags if you'd like.
Just put all those things in a cart together.
Yeah,
You're gonna need them all.
I like to keep listing because our editors put them on screen, and it's a shame, but they do spend a lot of time finding these things.
We like to make them earn their keep a little bit, you know?
Ultra Pro has a huge selection of stuff. If you're like me and you're always building, always be building, you need a couple of deck boxes in reserve. You need a couple of packs of sleeves in reserve, just in case creativity strikes. And Ultra Pro has a ton of it, and they have stuff at good deals and high quality. So make sure you sign up for their newsletter so you find out whenever flash sales happen, and you can get all of those accessories all at once for one cheap price. Plus, you're supporting the show by going to ultrapro.com/command. And the final way to support us is directly by going to patreon.com/commandzone. Our patrons are the best. They're the lifeblood around here. We get to chat with them and hang out in our Discord. Plus, they get access to extra turns and game nights a day early without ads. Pretty cool.
Wow.
As a gift to you for your support. And we shout out one lucky patron every single podcast episode. And this one is dedicated to Eric Threadgold. Good one.
Gold threads.
Gold threads.
Tying together the fantasies of Final Fantasy.
The woven net of Final Fantasy.
Great name, Eric Threadgold.
Very good. All right, let's get into it. We're talking about Scions. We're talking about Spellcraft. And not the ones that sack for colorless mana.
Nope.
Today
I guess, Scions and Spellcraft are both magic mechanics, aren't they?
Yes.
Isn't Spellcraft, maybe it's not. I can't remember exactly. It could be. Anyway, Scions are.
No, Spellcraft is like if you have stuff in your graveyard, right? If you have spells in your graveyard?
Yeah, or is it the one that when you cast stuff, Spellcraft goes off? I don't know. Look it up.
Look it up. What are we supposed to know? Everything?
Come on.
We know a lot. All right. Today we're going to upgrade this Precon. We're going to tell you what you can add to it to make it awesome. But first we've got to introduce you to the deck. We've got to get to know the deck ourselves. And what better way to get to know a deck than by meeting the face commander?
Oh boy.
Jordan, you want to introduce us?
This deck is led by the cat lady, Y'shtola Knights Blessed. This is 1 white, blue, and black for a 2/4 legendary creature, cat warlock with vigilance. And at the beginning of each instep, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life.
Couple of things to note here.
Yep.
Doesn't care about what player loses for life.
It can be you.
It could be you. You could pay life. That's fine. You can trigger that ability if you've cast 2 non-creature spells with mana value 3 or greater in a turn. So she fuels herself. And on top of that, she deals damage. Doesn't cause loss of life, which is interesting if we're talking about synergies down the line.
For a lot of reasons. I mean, if you can give her lifelink or something like that, then you are, gaining a lot of life.
Gaining a lot more than 2 life, for sure.
Yeah. I think Y'shtola is really interesting.
It's a very open-ended commander. You can build it in a lot of different ways. You could focus on Enchantress or artifacts or instants and sorceries, or you can do a sort of a good stuff blend of all of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, this deck has a flavor-forward perspective to make sure that Final Fantasy XIV fans everywhere feel represented and get to see all the folks that they're into in the game. Let's meet the backup commander and see if we can get a better idea of what this deck is doing.
Okie dokie. Also a cat person.
Grahatia, Scion Reborn. This is white, blue, black, so 3 mana altogether for a 2/3 cat wizard with lifelink. It has an ability, throw wide the gates. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life, where X is that spell's mana value. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it. Do this only once each turn. So, yeah, still caring about casting non-creature spells. This one has a little bit of life paying, which goes along with your commander, which is cool, and makes a little hero for you.
He does also have lifelink, so I guess he kind of makes up a little bit, right? Yes.
Yeah, 2/3 with lifelink, yeah.
So he makes up a little bit for the life you have to spend on doing him, but he seems pretty cool, kind of like a Shark Typhoon on a commander that you have to pay life for or whatever.
Absolutely.
But doesn't make sharks and they don't fly, so they're pretty different.
But a lot of +1 counters.
Yep.
Only once per turn, so this one definitely does encourage you to play more at instant speed to try and trigger it as many times as possible.
But I kind of like it. It seems cool because one thing you always run into in Spellslinger decks is finding a way to have stuff on the board while you are also, just slinging non-creature spells. And I like that he just kind of provides that. So you got a plan.
I mean, this is pretty sweet. You just cast a bunch of 0 drops and you don't have to pay any life. And you get a bunch of 1/1s.
Make 1/1s? I love it.
That's probably good.
Yeah.
It's got to be good. That's my new slogan in Commander right now. Is something weird. It's got to be good.
For sure.
Put it on a t-shirt. All right. So that's Grahatia. It gives you a better idea of what we're doing. A lot of life gain, a lot of life loss, and non-creature spell casting. Let's get into the reprint value for these decks. There's a lot of caveats for this one. The deck's MSRP, this one and all of the precons for Final Fantasy is $70. The catch there is you can't find it for $70 anywhere. Most of them at that price are sold out. So we are going to use the $70 for our math today, because that is the most consistent number that we have, and it gives the most information for most people. But we want to do a full disclaimer that pre-order prices for this deck are ranging from about $100 to $120, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Rachel, it's so funny to me that I think we were both there at the MagicCon where they announced MSRP was coming back and everyone literally cheered.
Yes.
And it just hasn't mattered.
It doesn't change anything. No. All it does is sort of give us an expectation that isn't met. So it's really a shame. A lot of these decks are really, really expensive. So I just want you to keep that in mind when we talk about the reprint value is this is an expensive precon. If you get it for its MSRP, it's almost twice the price of regular precons. If you don't, it's closer to 3 times regular precon.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. All that being said, the total reprint value for this deck, it's got to be good, right, Jordan? It's
$117.75.
It's terrible.
That's low. That's really low.
It's quite low.
Oof.
$117.75. Just for some context, the 2024 average reprint value was $137.79.
And that's not adjusted for this being an expensive precon.
No, that number is a little tricky because it doesn't only include 60 cards in the deck, which is fewer than normal. So you expect it to be a little on the low side, but because the deck is so expensive, you would think it gets closer to the number we would expect. So this value only takes into account the value of the reprints
Yeah.
in the deck, so that's 60 of the cards, and the reprint value at time of recording, which will go down once the reprints are announced. It doesn't include the 26 new cards, there's 3 main set cards, or the 11 basic lands in that value.
Which is always like a bit more of a wild card factor in these Universes Beyond precons where it's like, there's supposed to be a lot of new cards.
Yeah, there's 26 new cards. It's hard to say what any of their value is going to be. Obviously, they're all highly Final Fantasy XIV themed, so there's a lot of extra value there. And all the reprints in the deck have brand new art from Final Fantasy. So we are going to go through the bang for your buck value. Again, we're using the $70 MSRP. So if you get it at $70, you are getting $1.68 worth of reprints for your $1 cash. Not great. Not great. If you buy it at $110, which is the current average pre-order price that we can find, you're getting $1.07 of reprints for your $1 cash. So the average bang for your buck value in 2024 was $2.75. So you can see that this deck ain't about the reprints.
Yeah, it feels like, and we were saying this before we started recording, but it's like, buy this deck if you just love Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah.
I think that's a great reason to buy it.
Yeah. And if you're excited about that for those reasons, if you're excited about the characters, definitely get the deck. If you're just looking to pick up a couple of the new cards and you're mostly getting it for the value, it's not worth it. You should get the reprints. You should just buy them.
Buy
singles later. Yeah.
Shout out Prof.
Yeah. That being said, we are going to talk about the notable reprints in the deck. These are all of the reprints worth $5 or more. There are a measly 5 in this deck, which is much lower than we've come to expect, especially for decks with as high of a price tag as these.
I'll also admit, with a little bit of spoiler, I'm not super excited about some of these high-value
really
reprints.
Boring. I don't know. The first one is Sunken Ruins at $22.
This is just a filter land.
It's the blue-black filter land. It hasn't been reprinted in a while. Like, I'm glad to see it reprinted, but it's not like that's why I'm picking up the deck, you know? Up next,
Archaeomancer's Map. If you don't know this card, it is a solid little white artifact ramp piece. Like, I love this card in a lot of things. This is one I like having reprinted.
Yeah, it's a decent reprint. This is sitting at $14 right now. It is a little weird in the 3-color deck because you can only get planes with it, but you know, it helps you cheat lands into play when you're doing all of these extra drawing off of your commander.
This next one is sort of a favorite of mine, actually, which is Snuff Out, which is a removal spell that has it's 3 and a black, but it has the ability to pay 4 life instead of paying its mana cost.
Yeah, as long as you control a swamp.
As long as you control a swamp.
A high cost.
Well, a little tougher in a 3-mana deck or in a 3-color deck than some, but still pretty nice.
Yeah, Snuff Out sitting at $10 right now. It's great with your commander because you pay 4 life and you get to draw a card after it.
Yep.
Up next is Authority of the Console, sitting at $8.50. This is the one that makes your opponent's control enter tapped, and you gain some life when creatures enter under their control. And finally, Crux of Fate is the dragon board wipe, sitting at $7. Commander's not a dragon. Deck isn't about dragons, but here it is. I assume it's in the MMO. I'm not familiar with Final Fantasy XIV.
It's got to be a reference.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, it's like sometimes you'll sit down in a pod and someone's playing a dragon deck and you'll be like, crap.
Yeah, I either destroy just your stuff or nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I think after all that, we've sort of been clear about this. But if you're trying to pick these up just for the value, it's not a great option. If you're a Final Fantasy fan and this is like the deck you've been waiting for, then yeah, of course it's worth it to hunt this down and get it pre-ordered and start building the decks you're excited about. So that is the reprint value for the Scions and Spellcraft deck. We're going to get into the mechanical details of this deck in just a moment, which means it's time to break down the stats is what I said that time. Stats. We're going to break down the stats.
What are we going to do?
We're going to break down the stats.
Okay.
All right.
That's enough time.
Yes, they know what's happening. So the first thing that we always talk about is the nuts and bolts of the deck. We want to talk about stuff that makes every commander deck run, starting with ramp.
And this deck has 15 pieces of ramp in it.
That's a lot.
That seems like a great number.
For a deck that is focused on casting stuff that's 3 mana or more, I really appreciate that it's an Esper deck that's trying to develop its mana.
Yeah.
So 15 is more than I would normally put into a deck, especially one in these colors. But because you're focusing on the higher curve, I think 15 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, especially because it strikes me as the commander wants to enable itself by being able to maybe cast 2 spells on other people's turns, 2 spells on your turn, things like that. So you're always going to have stuff to do with the mana.
For sure.
So ramp like crazy.
And what goes well with ramp? What's the peanut butter to its jelly? It's card advantage. And there are 16 pieces of card advantage in the deck. That is tons. And that's a lot. Great. This is a very controlling style deck. You're trying to cast multiple spells per turn, which means you need to have multiple cards in your hand.
Yeah.
It goes well with the amount of ramp that's in the deck. So
this really is the sort of deck where like you're never going to not want more card advantage.
Yeah, I mean, your card draw spells also do damage. So, it's pretty good. So 16 pieces of card advantage I like a lot. Up next, unsurprisingly, they've got 12 pieces of targeted disruption. That's right about what we recommended in the template is 12 pieces of targeted disruption. It makes sense for a deck like this that we expect to be a highly disruptive deck.
I think I'd probably even go up a little bit on that if we could pull it off.
Yeah,
which,
I would expect it to be higher than average, yeah.
Yeah.
Up next is 8 pieces of mass disruption. Not necessarily board wipes. These are things that mess with multiple cards at the same time. So if you're like, okay, I'm going to bounce all of your stuff, or I'm going to goad multiple things, or I'm going to play a ghostly prison so you can't attack me. Those all count as mass disruption. Basically saying, I spend 1 card, deal with multiple of your things. Which makes sense. I think 8 is a little above average. That's what we would expect from a deck like this that just sort of wants to have its commander in play and sit back.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Like you just need to be disrupting everyone else's plans so that your eventual tick, 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 draw engine, hurt people thing is going to end the game.
Absolutely. Finally, there are 37 lands in this deck. That's a little bit lower than what I would want in a controlling deck. You want to make sure you're hitting a land drop every single turn, but 37 isn't bad, and there's a lot of pieces of card advantage to make sure you get there. But in those 37 lands, there's 11 basics, and there's 12 lands, like roughly, that we're counting as tapped. 7 of those 12 always come in tapped.
Yeah.
And the rest of them represent lands that are like sometimes come in tapped if you meet a qualification.
Sure.
So I think that's a pretty good mana base that comes in mostly untapped. It feels very usable.
Yeah, and as usual, we're not going to touch the mana base in our upgrade here. So, there's probably work to be done on it, but I think it's going to be functional for you.
Yeah. All right, up next, we're going to break down the stats that is more specific to this deck so you get an idea for what it is trying to do. So I'll let you do this one.
So, this is a spell deck, but it's specifically non-creature spells, not just instants and sorceries or something like that. And the deck has 42 non-creature spells, which is a ton. But that's great. I think you want that. And I mean, if you look at the deck, you'll see a lot of the non-creature spells will also make tokens or somehow protect you in a way. So it kind of makes up for not having a ton of creatures.
Yeah, now, I mean, I think with a deck like this where you have such a low bar to clear, where it's just you just want non-creatures, you want to play as many non-creatures as you possibly can. And 42 is obviously a ton.
Yeah. Now, specifically for Y'shtola, you need non-creature spells that cost 3 or more.
Right.
And 32 of the cards in the deck meet that
stipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, 32 is tons, and it is that fits our normal template. I would say it is a little weird that there's 10 non-creature spells that don't meet that stipulation, but that's mana rocks and some kind of disruption spells are often cheaper.
Yeah, and you want your cheap interaction and probably a lot of the 2 mana ramp and stuff fits into that.
Probably 4 mana commander, it makes sense to play a couple of the talismans and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you want to get those out there. But still, 32 is pretty good. And then there are 13 non-creature payoffs. These are things that I don't think all of them literally say non-creature spells. Some of them are payoffs for instants and sorceries, like Archmage Emeritus type effects and things like that. But these are just cards that make it so when you're casting these things, you're getting a bit more value or somehow paying you off.
Absolutely. 13's lots. Especially with a payoff in your command zone. Not all of them are perfect, like we said, because this is split so much between instants and sorceries and artifacts and enchantments, but a fair amount of stuff that rewards you for doing what your deck wants to do. And there was another big sub-theme, I think, to this deck. There's 14 cards that make tokens. So there is a lot of non-creature spells in the deck, but you do want some kind of board presence.
Yeah.
So being able to fill up your board and make sure you have chump blockers when you need to, or to swing in for the attack once you've controlled the board to your liking. It makes sense that there is some amount of token support as well. We've been taking a new stat. We've added the average mana value of the deck. This one is 3.38, which is a little higher than most of the decks that we play around here. But for a deck that cares about 3 mana or more, I think that makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an important element of the whole thing. And it's also like, this isn't a deck that necessarily is going to be like, get down fast, close out the game real quick, keep that low curve going. Like, this one wants to go long and then just have the most powerful spells that are chipping away at everything. So it makes sense to me.
Absolutely. I don't think that curve is something that you need to be worried about. Okay, those are the stats. We've broken them down. We're going to do an upgrade. We're going to add 10 cards. We're going to take 10 cards out. But we wanted to give you an idea of some of the goals that we had when we were adding those cards and when we were cutting those cards before we get into it. We've alluded to it, I think, already, but we did choose Y'shtola as the commander for this deck. She's just really powerful.
I think she's great. And I mean, the fact that she's like a win condition on the card, it seems really good. I don't think it would be tough to just switch out Grahatia and play the deck that way. But I think Y'shtola is the more immediately powerful commander here.
Right. And it's that card advantage is the big difference where Grahatia gives you the tokens and the board presence if you're worried about that. But Y'shtola gives you the damage and gives you some amount of clock and also a huge amount of card advantage.
Yeah.
A little spoiler, Josh plays this one in game nights, and you will really get to see the deck in action. It does some cool stuff.
Yeah, this is a very Josh type of commander.
It's a very Josh deck.
Yep.
So that's the commander. We had a couple of things that we wanted to improve for the deck. It's not super easy to trigger Y'shtola intentionally on everybody's turns.
Yeah, it's sort of built in that you can just try and cast 2 non-creature spells on your turn. To get the thing. But being able to consistently cast 2 spells on everyone's turn is a tough thing to pull off. So we just tried to put more things that will, with either one spell or through other incidental purposes, get you those cards on as many turns as possible instead of just yours.
Right. So make it a little bit easier to trigger your commander without just dumping a ton of cards into it. And make sure that, if your opponent, maybe an opponent cracks a fetch and they cracked a fetch and they shocked in a land and they're at 3. So you can cast a spell and make sure you get over the 4 damage threshold to draw a card. So that was a big thing. We had a couple of the payoffs that are in there are just kind of slow. There's not a ton of ways to slam the door shut. So something that we talked about was okay, you're going to be attracting a lot of attention, making sure that once you have control over the game, you can really lock things down.
Yeah. Stuff that just makes the plan you're already doing even more impactful, just tough. Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very strong controlling deck, and if you lean into it, you can really do some powerful stuff with it. So
I think, and we can talk about this a little more when we talk about kind of how the deck plays, but I think this kind of wants to be the sort of control deck where you've won the game before people realize you've won the game.
For sure, yeah.
And some of the cards we've added going forward are the ones that people might not even really notice, but then will let your plan turn to the fact that there's no way they come back.
Yeah. And finally, there's just a couple of non-creature spells that aren't exactly on the plan. There's a few things that are leaning more into the token plan, a little less into the burn plan. We wanted to make sure that the deck was focused on one goal.
Yeah, and I think there's also a couple legendary creatures thrown in because they're beloved from the game and they had to design them a certain way but don't necessarily fit all that well in the plan of the deck. So
a great idea for before we move on to our upgrades is I want to talk about the best cards in the deck because it gives you a good idea for the kind of cards to add. Where you're like, oh, I really love it when I see this card. So what other ways can we support that? So before we move on, let's talk about the ones that already come in the deck that when they're in your hand, you feel unstoppable.
So the one that struck me as just kind of being awesome and a whole package and probably a great commander in his own right is Emmett Selk of the third seat. This is 2, a blue and a black for a legendary creature, Elder Wizard, 3/4. And it says spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast. Now, this isn't necessarily a graveyard deck, but he enables it. Whenever one or more opponents lose life, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Do this only once each turn.
I mean, this seems awesome.
So cool.
So with your commander on the battlefield, you cast a spell, you trigger your commander's ability, you deal damage.
Another spell from the graveyard.
It gives you an ability to cast one from the graveyard. That is reduced so you can hold up mana for a later turn to cast one again.
And this gives you the card advantage from your commander, it draws into it, and you can kind of do this every turn because you're refilling your hand, he's lowering the cost of actually doing it. I mean, it is going to cost you mana, but if it kind of takes it down to instead of being 6 to trigger Y'shtola twice, you can probably do it with just 4 mana on each turn, which is way easier to pull off over, like, say twice over the course of a turn cycle.
The thing I was double checking is he does let you play sorceries at instant speed as long as you've dealt that damage, because you cast it as soon as the damage is dealt. So it is sort of a flash enabler for the sorceries in your graveyard as well.
I think it's very cool. Yeah. Just a really neat card.
Yeah, that does a lot of the things that we're talking about, is being able to cast one non-creature spell and you turning it into a double trigger on your commander that'll give you the card draw at the end of turn.
And then this next card is not quite as much the like full package sort of thing, but I think it's just a really strong effect. This is Lice Hexed, which is 1, a white and a blue for a 2/2 legendary creature, human rebel monk. It has prowess, which, is just nice with all these things you'll be casting. And then it just says non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
Sure.
Very strong effect. And then, as long as you've cast 2 or more non-creature spells this turn, Lice Hexed has double strike.
Woof!
Double strike and prowess and
cost reduction?
Cost reduction, that's a lot. Like, this is going to be a serious beater. That is also just, turning on your ability to double spell.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty serious little creature right there. It's 3 mana, so you cast your commander, and then immediately after that you can double spell with 2 3-drops.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, and it just gets you off to the races where it's like, okay, well, suddenly this control deck has this creature on the board that I have to deal with, or I'm just going to get walloped.
Yeah, I honestly think that card is going to be like playable in a ton of decks that run the colors, because as long as you have a certain threshold of non-creature spells, cost reduction is one of the most powerful things you can do.
Something underrated about prowess too is it's just super difficult to block.
Yes.
Like it's basically unblockable.
Prowess double strike? When do you ever block that?
You can't block it.
It's just a bad idea.
Because if they end up casting a second spell, your creature gets eaten for free. You don't even trade for it. It's just going to be a very tricky thing for you to actually get off the battlefield in combat.
Real tough.
Okay, those are the best cards in the deck. Those are the big ones that you need to worry about. We're going to add 10 more that you'll be excited to have in your hand after a few words from our sponsors.
With all these MagicCons now, we've been doing a lot of traveling.
That's true, but hey, at least the flight to Vegas is quick.
Flight? I'm making a drive.
That's like over 4 hours, Jimmy.
Yeah, but that's over 4 hours of listening to audiobooks. I've been working my way through the Wheel of Time series on Audible. So instead of endless Nevada desert, I'll be on an epic fantasy adventure.
Wait, you're listening to the Wheel of Time? That's like my favorite series ever. I've been listening to Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, which is actually one of the titles included for free with the Audible membership.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and even with how busy my schedule is, Audible's app makes it easy to just throw it on when I'm taking a walk or driving to work.
Plus, as a member, you can choose one title a month to keep from the whole catalog. And they've got over 1 million things in there.
Oh, that explains why you're planning a drive that's like months from now.
Yeah, actually that's more of a Wheel of Time thing, because I'm only on book 2.
Oh, so I guess you're just driving to all the MagicCons until like 2032 then.
Yeah. How many hours does it take to get to Atlanta?
Probably about a third of a Wheel of Time book.
Oh, nice.
Start listening and discover what's beyond the edge of your seat. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days and dive into a world of new thrills.
Visit audible.com/command or text command to 500-500. That's audible.com/command or text command to 500-500.
Welcome, cast fans. Tygam Master Opportunist here from the hit meditation podcast, Just Sky's the Limit. I know I appear calm and collected now, but when I first started casting, running a business felt overwhelming. Thank goodness I found Shopify, who helped me manage a flurry of questions and challenges so I could focus on getting out 2 casts a turn. Week. With Shopify, there's no reason to suspend your dreams of starting a business. They have true mastery when it comes to managing inventory, shipping, returns, and more. Plus, they can aid you with tools such as ready-to-use templates for your online store. It's like you have a whole monastery of marketing monks on your side, ready to easily create social media campaigns with unmatched commercial prowess. Shopify is the platform behind 10% of e-commerce in the US, including my hated rivals, the Command Zone. They just make good stuff. So take it from a master opportunist. With Shopify, your opportunity is now.
Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/TCZ. Go to shopify.com/TCZ. Again, shopify.com/TCZ.
Hey everyone.
How's it?
Here, have a booster pack.
Whoa, what are you doing?
Sorry, after that last Whatnot stream, I just want to keep giving away cool stuff.
Well, you should save it for the next stream, which is May 15th at 12 noon Pacific. And you should all bookmark it right now by going to whatnot.com/invite/command.
As always, we're gonna have a bunch of great giveaways. I mean, last time we had packs, Precon, signed cards, even a collector booster box of Tarkir Dragonstorm.
And if you want some guaranteed free value, just sign up with our link. Because when you do, you get $15 free to spend anywhere on Whatnot.
Yeah, you can even use it on some of our sweet Game Nights merch, like a signed Commander deck box.
But of course, you also get the value of hanging out with us live, which I like to think is worth something, right?
I hope so. We're gonna be chilling with the fans, talking with chat, and answering your burning questions.
Plus, you can hang out with more than just us, because we're pairing up with the Professor! He'll be starting his stream at 1 p.m., so you can enter our giveaways and then stick around and maybe win something from Prof also.
Yeah, and he's always giving away a ton of really cool stuff. Do you think it'd be weird if I entered one of those giveaways?
It would be weird if you won one, yeah.
Yeah, good point. And remember, if you sign up for Whatnot using our link at whatnot.com/invite/command, you get $15 free to use anywhere on the platform.
So come join us on May 15th at 12 noon Pacific to get in on all the fun, and don't forget to use our link to get those 15 free bucks.
Now, will somebody please take these packs?
Yeah, take them off our hands.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, clue fish.
Dr. Seuss?
No, I'm working on Morphon Fish Typal. Just want to make sure I have enough fish to actually draw some.
Oh, well, you should use ARCHIDEKT's hypergeometric calculator. See? ARCHIDEKT makes it easy to check your chances of drawing what you need, whether it's a certain creature type, mana value, or category of cards, like ramp or draw spells. I use it to check my land count. See, in this deck, you only have a 61% chance of drawing 3 lands by turn 2. Might be a little low.
Okay, I'll cut a basic or 2.
Wait, you mean add?
Nope, I've got a reputation to uphold. ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest Commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/command-zone.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about Scions. We're talking about Spellcraft. We're talking about 10 cards you can add to this deck to get it into peak fighting shape.
We really should have done 14 in and out for this one.
Yeah, we should have.
We messed up.
But then Final Fantasy VI gets really screwed.
And they're like, I'm sorry, this isn't that great an upgrade.
We can only do 6 for flavor reasons. We're going to use a budget of $50 for these 10 cards. So we know you spent a
budget of 14. No, I'm just kidding.
Look, you spent a lot of money on this box, so hopefully $50 doesn't break the bank for you. But we've got some very cool ads that we think are going to really power up this deck and make it feel super consistent and synergistic.
Yeah.
All right. First things first, we've talked a lot about trying to trigger your commander every turn, and I think this one's sort of the poster child for every turn.
Oh, this card's really good, and it's sort of a new Josh Lee Kwai favorite special.
Yeah.
This is High Fate Trickster, which is 3 and a blue for a 4/2 creature fairy wizard with flash and flying. And it says, you may cast spells as though they had flash. Mm-hmm. This card rules.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. One thing about this deck is a ton of the non-creature spells they have are not necessarily instants or have flash. Like
there's
they'll
artifacts or enchantments.
Equipment, enchantment, artifacts, stuff like that. And High Fate Trickster just lets you, save your mana, use it on everyone's turn. And then also notably, it's a 4/2 flyer. So on your turn, you don't have to be tapping out your mana to do it. You can save it for the others and just swing in with the High Fae Trickster for your 4 damage for a turn.
It's almost like 14.
It's really good. 14s doing, I don't know.
Nope.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. 4 damage is the magic number in this deck, so having a flyer with 4 power is huge. And I love that you can let your opponents do some of your work for you, and you're like, I'll just top it off to make sure we get to 4 so I can draw my card.
Yeah.
So you're not like double spelling on your turn and then feeling locked out of your other turns.
Well, because you really don't want to have to double spell on your turn. You want to pass with a lot of mana open. And then people go, well, I shouldn't mess with Y'shtola. They've got mana open. You know? Speaking of having your friends do some of the work.
Yeah. Oh, High Fae Trickster sitting at $4 right now. Still pretty inexpensive. Honestly, you should buy a couple of these if you haven't. It's really good.
Oh, it's so good.
All right. On to another fairy.
Which, this is the one. Speaking of having your friends do some of the work. The next card is a Layla. Cunning Conqueror.
This is the Dimir one.
Yeah, I felt a little cheeky about adding this one because I like this as a way, because it's not a non-creature spell. So it's a little off plan in some ways, but I think it's really strong. This is 2, a blue and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature. Fairy Warlock. And whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. And whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, go target creature that player controls.
Okay.
So my thinking on this one is that it has 2 pretty solid synergies with the deck. Because you want to be casting stuff on other people's turns to get the stuff from them. But also, those little fairy tokens going in and goading things means people will do the work of doing the 4 damage for you. Like if someone has a solid flyer, not only are you protecting yourself by goading it, but you could go in and get them to attack someone else, and then you don't have to cast any spells to get your 4 damage for that turn.
Y'shtola is actually a very cool politics goatee commander.
Yeah.
And with stuff like a Layla in there, you get a little bit more control over combat. Plus, the fairies can do damage for you. Like, you only need 2 fairies to turn a Layla and 2 fairies into 4 damage all on their own.
Yep.
And then you're goading all of the creatures, so you're drawing more cards on other people's turn.
Yep.
So especially with the instance that we're starting to add, High Fae Trickster, we've got some later in on this list. You want to make sure that you're feeling very light, very tricksy, and Alayla is going to be perfect for that.
Yeah, and even just like the case of being able to instant speed, make yourself a blocker when someone's coming in. Love it.
She's a great control commander on her own, and goes very well with Y'shtola.
Yep.
Only $3.50 for a Layla. If you haven't played against this card yet, it is scary. This is a scary one to play against. Up next, we wanted to talk about some of the flashy things that we keep hyping up in this deck. So adding a few more instants, specifically more disruptive instants, because we know this deck wants to be a little bit more controlling. So upping the number of targeted disruption is definitely part of the goal.
Yeah, and also we made a point on all 3 of these ads that each of them have the potential to trigger the full 4 life thing on their own.
Right.
Without any other cards needing to do the work for it.
This first one needs another card, but not a whole lot. It's Press the Enemy. Press the Enemy is a 4-mana instant. It's 2 blue. It says return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with equal or less a mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. So it's a bounce spell that lets you cast an additional spell for free that can also be like a bounce counter spell.
Yeah, and add instant speed, even if it's like a sorcery or something like that.
So the cool thing about this is as long as it's an instant or sorcery you're casting, so you're going to trigger your commander twice, which deals 4 damage.
Yeah, and you bounce some of theirs. It's pretty neat.
It's pretty good. I've looked at this card a few times to just like figure out what deck it's good in, and I love it here.
I've been like sort of trying to find a place for this card, and when I was like, oh,
it does too.
It do the Y'shtola thing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yee.
As long as you're okay putting a little Lord of the Rings, a little dash of Lord of the Rings in your Final Fantasy deck.
Mix it in there. Lord of the Rings is like the first fantasy, and this is the final fantasy.
Yeah, we're the bookend fantasies.
Yes.
Press the enemy, only 50 cents right now. Lets you cast 2 spells in 1. Let's go on to the next one.
So the next card is sort of a classic removal spell, and this one's cool because, well, I'll say what it is first. The card is Dismember. It's 1 and
Which
2.
member?
Dismember.
Sorry, my joke really
No,
gotcha.
great joke. It was worth it. It is 1 and 2 black Phyrexian mana. For an instant that just says target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn, which for the vast majority of situations kills things.
Yep.
It's just very good. And the cool thing about this is that you cast Dismember for 1 colorless mana, you pay 4 life. Y'shtola is going to gain you life back, but you still lost that 4 life doing it. So that immediately is what is the trigger you need to get the card draw for the thing.
Not to mention, it's a 3 mana spell that you only spend 1 mana on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's cool on a lot of levels. It makes it easy to double spell if you did want to just keep stuff going, although you don't even need to for the thing. This is also just like, Dismember is playable in a lot of decks, so it's just nice to have Dismember as a card you own.
Yeah, I mean, Dismember is an incredible removal spell that honestly is probably underplayed in Commander just because it's kind of expensive. But because it has so many synergy sides of it here, it's 3 mana, it deals 4, you lose 4 life. It feels like it is so worth spending $5.25 on this card. Synergy.
It also gets rid of indestructible creatures and stuff. So
weave the golden thread.
Oh, yeah, from Eric Threadgold.
Yes. Threadgold, yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah. Was it Eric? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Eric.
Oh, I did. I nailed it.
You did it.
We love you, Eric Threadgold.
That's Dismember. $5.25 to pick that up. This next one is also very cool, and it's another disruption spell.
This is my favorite ad.
I know.
Of this set, which is Slaughter. This is 2 and 2 black for an instant that says destroy target non-black creature. That creature cannot be regenerated this turn. But here's the kicker. It's got buyback. Pay 4 life. So that means
that's the number.
That's the one. You need to pay 4 life. But then you still have this card in your hand. So this is such a power move to have this in a deck like this, because you're going to be the controlling thing at the table. And if you've slaughtered something and paid for the buyback to get it back, from then on, whenever you're like, if you attack me, I'm going to kill it. People go, well, they're not bluffing.
Gonna just kill it. I'm going to slaughter it.
And they know, yes, it's 4 mana to do it, which is a lot. But if you're passing with your mana up, the threat of slaughter is going to be really strong. If you can cast it a couple times in a turn and keep getting it back, Y'shtola is paying you back for some of that life that you're losing off of the thing. I think this card is so cool in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you're like, okay, it's 4 mana to kill one thing, but it's not. It's 4 mana to kill one thing, to draw a card, to deal 2 damage and gain 2 life.
Yeah,
and lose 4 and then gain 2.
And not only do you draw a card, you sort of draw this card as well. So it's sort of like draw 2 cards.
Yeah, it's a 0 for 2?
Yeah.
No, it's a 2 for 0. That's it. It goes the other way. But you get their card, you get this card back, so you haven't spent a card, and then you get to draw a card on your end step as long as you control your commander.
For 4 mana and 2 life, I think that is a great deal.
It's very cool. Slaughter's the kind of card that I bought once I found it and was like, okay, I've got this sitting in my bulk box for the moment I find a slaughter spot.
Yeah.
And this is honestly the perfect spot for it. So pick up your slaughters. They're only 25 cents right now. Hopefully they're still that price when it gets to you, but slaughter, very cool. Up next, we're talking about some ways to sort of supercharge Y'shtola. Make sure that every time you're casting a non-creature spell, you're not just doing 2 damage and gaining 2 life and drawing a card. You're doing even more.
These are the sort of cards that you start to play when you're like, okay, time to switch into win the game mode.
Now I'm in control. I've got a counter spell for protection for my commander, and I've got some ways to really supercharge her.
Yeah. And the first one is Ophidian Eye. This is 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura. with Flash.
Flash.
Oh boy, so you can cast it on someone else's turn. It has Enchant Creature, and whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card.
Here's the thing. To all opponents.
This means whenever you cast a non-creature spell with 3 or more, you draw 3 cards.
You draw 3 cards, and you deal 2 damage, and
then
you
you
gain 2 life. And this is a non-creature spell with 3 or more.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really quite powerful.
It's awesome. And I mean, it's very similar to Curiosity, a card that people also know, which probably is also great included in the deck. But I wanted to add this one because it also has the Flash synergy. It also has the 3 or more synergy. It just feels like it fits on every level.
Yeah, this one's really sweet. It is a little spendy because it's only been it's printed once and it's been on the list. It's $5.50, but it's doing a lot for you. There's a lot of overlap here.
And I do think, and you kind of mentioned this, but I think it's worth mentioning again. For this one and the next one, like they are enchant creatures, so you are setting yourself up to lose a lot if you cast it and you don't have a plan in mind for if people try and remove your commander after that. But at least with Ophidian Eye, if you are able to cast it and then follow it up with some sort of spell to immediately get the value, you're ahead on card advantage.
Right, for sure. And this next one is sort of more backbreaking, but also extremely powerful.
Yeah.
It's definitely up on her EDH rec page as well, and it's seen a bit of a spike in price because of Y'shtola, but it's that good. It is worth it. It's Helm of the Ghast Lord for $7. Helm of the Ghast Lord is 3 and a hybrid blue-black for an enchantment aura that says, as long as enchanted creature is blue, it gets +1/+1, and whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. Perfect.
Great.
Just like Ophidian Eye. And
Same
it
thing.
also says, as long as enchanted creature is black, it gets +1/+1, and whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, the player discards a card. Oh.
This turns all your non-creature spells with 3 or greater into 6-for-1s, I believe.
Oh God. It's like you draw 3 and they lose 3, so that would be the 6, and you spend the 1.
And then probably more with
and like the Helm of the Ghast Lord
going
itself.
on.
It's like a 6-for-2, but you can do it multiple times. It's ridiculous. It's extremely powerful in the deck. If you're playing against Y'shtola and a Helm of the Ghast Lord comes down, there should be alarm bells. You should be interested in stopping that. The other thing that's worth noting is it gives it +2/+2, which is enough to make Y'shtola into a 4/6.
Yeah.
So she alone is a 4 damage outlet on your own turn.
Then she's going in and attacking people. She has vigilance.
She does. She's got vigilance, yeah.
So she's a great attacker for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Super powerful.
I love this card. I love this whole cycle, which is
for
from
sure.
like Shadowmoor, at least the block or something like that.
Yeah.
Really neat.
That was before me, but I think that's the Shadowmoor symbol, yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Pick up a Helm of the Ghast Lord for $7. This next one's great as well. It turns any single non-creature spell into a 4 damage trigger. It's Veto. Thorn of the Dusk Rose.
Hey, it's Vito.
2 and a black for a legendary vampire cleric. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. He's a 1/3. He also has an activated ability that says 3 black creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn.
So we put this in, obviously, for the first ability, because then whenever you cast the spell, you do 2 to everybody, you gain 2, and you get to do 2 more to someone else, and like, bam, did the 4. Magic 4 happened there. It's
only
great.
costs 1 non-creature spell.
But the second ability is also sick.
It's really good. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but if you give Y'shtola lifelink, you do gain the life on the 2 damage she does to each opponent. So you will actually deal 2 damage to each opponent, gain 6 life, and gain 2 more life. So 8 life altogether. With Veto, obviously, that's very good because you can deal out even more damage to each player.
This life gain adds up fast.
It does. And it's 5 mana. It's a lot to activate to give all your stuff lifelink. But if you're in the mode where you're like, okay, I've been taking a lot of heat because I've been playing the control deck or I've been casting Slaughter a lot.
Yeah.
Veto gives you a huge burst in life and also a way to push through even more damage every time you cast a non-creature spell.
Seems very cool. And Vito of the Dusk Rose is sitting at about $8 right now.
$8. Pretty spendy for Vito. He's come up
good,
in the
though.
world. He is good.
There's a lot of like little combos and stuff with Vito,
Yeah.
which we didn't add any of that, but
You can if you want.
go ahead. Have fun.
You're allowed. All right, we wanted to talk about some other sweet payoffs. Y'shtola is a sort of must-answer threat after a certain amount of time. Like, you can't just let the Y'shtola player keep drawing cards and keep draining the table and keep drawing cards and keep draining the table.
Yeah.
So for when Y'shtola gets answered, you want to have other backup things that really care about your non-creature game.
Great if you can get them all down at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the truth of the matter is that eventually people might get wise to your plan and be removing your stuff.
Yeah. And if you're playing a controlling deck, you can't really get out the house without Jin Gitaxias.
Jin Gitaxias.
This one's just the first name.
Yeah, not Core Augur. It's just Jin Gitaxias. This is the one that flips into a saga.
Yeah.
This is 3 blue for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor. It is a 5/5 with Ward 2. Yeah.
Protect?
Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, draw a card. Hey, it's the thing she
It's
said.
the thing.
Wow.
So good with Slaughter.
Wow. This is a slaughter card. Then it also has the ability for 3 and a blue to exile Jin Gitaxias, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery and only if you have 7 or more cards in hand. Which, I'll say, like, you don't need this part for this card to be good in the deck, but you're probably going to be able to pull it off.
You can probably flip this thing. And once you do, you are paid off. The back is very powerful.
It flips into the Great Synthesis, which is a 3-step saga. I'm going to have to move it a little closer so I can read it all. The first step is draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size for as long as you control the Great Synthesis. So this draws you basically at minimum 7 cards.
Gross.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
The second step says return all non-Phyrexian creatures to their owner's hands, which, does bounce your commander and stuff as well, but you're a control deck. You want to be casting stuff. This is definitely going to hurt them more than it hurts you.
Yeah, you also don't have that many creatures you're trying to keep in play.
No. And then the third step is you may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost.
Gross.
Exile the Great Synthesis, then return it to the battlefield.
Remember, Y'shtola doesn't trigger once per turn.
No. I think you could win. If you manage to get the third thing of the Great Synthesis, you could win the game on the spot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you bounce everything, you replay your commander, you hold for control for one more turn, and then at the beginning of your first main phase, just pop off.
Or even, just don't cast your commander that turn before to give him any time. Just like when you get to the third one, cast Y'shtola first and then dump everything in your hand, drain everybody for however much you have.
Gross.
Seems really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that makes for an enormous turn it's very telegraphed, but you're a control deck. You're a lot you can play threats like this because you can often protect them.
Yeah.
And your opponents should be clamoring to try and figure out how to stop it.
And if you're a control deck and people are using all their resources to try and answer one threat from you, you tend to win that matchup because you've set yourself up to have the pieces to
have that fight. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're draining their resources instead.
Definitely. Huge card in the deck. I think it's very powerful. It's a great alternative to your commander. It's great with your commander either way. And this next one is the same. It is only 2 mana, so it's great because you can get it down early and it works with a lot of your synergy pieces. It's Sig River Cutthroat. It's 2 Dimir hybrid mana for a Merfolk Rogue. He's a 1/3. The beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, you may draw a card.
Wow.
That's it.
3. That's even easier than Y'shtola.
Absolutely. And this is just a nice little draw engine that for the most part, it will be left alone. Even if you lose Y'shtola.
Yeah.
You can still sort of push through some of your more damage-based cards. It's great with Y'shtola because every time you cast a non-creature spell, obviously that triggers Sig. Well, no. You need one more damage. But if it's like a fetch or like, I'm trying to think of like a Bolus' Citadel. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's probably more than one.
Wow.
I can think of 2 ways that opponents lose life.
I feel like you're going to get a lot of incidental cards off of Sig, and just
Yeah.
doing the plan the deck is already trying to do is going to just get you more with Sig.
Very fun, and he's a weird little guy, which I'm always a favor of. Sig is only $3, which
cool.
brings the total budget to $44 even.
Wow.
Pretty good. $6 to spare. You got to spend it on tax for this
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
But all of these cards are kind of going to supercharge your deck. They're going to make sure that once you've taken control of the game, you can slam the door shut. But, of course, we've added 10 cards. That means we need to take 10 cards out. We're going to move to the cards to cut section, and we're going to play just taps, just a soft, somber music.
Yes.
As we read. Yeah.
Sorry, Hypnotic Sprite. This card is 2 and a blue for a 2/1 flying creature fairy with the adventure Mesmeric Glare, which is 2 and a blue for an instant adventure. Counter target spell with mana value 3 or less. This card's not bad. I get why it's in the deck. It's like, you cast the adventure and that triggers Y'shtola, and then you cast the Hypnotic Sprite and it's just a blocker. It's just not very impressive.
It's a 2-mana flyer that can, if you cast a non-creature spell, you can chip in for the next 2 damage. So it does, a couple of things, but we've really added a lot of things that make it easier for one spell to trigger it. So
And 3 mana for a counter spell that also can't get you any mana advantage on the counter spell doesn't feel great to me. So, it's fine, but I just don't think it's quite up to snuff.
I think that's fair. The next cut is Thancred Waters.
Great name.
4 and a white for a 3/5 human warrior with flash. When Thancred enters, another target legendary permanent you control gains indestructible for as long as you control Thancred Waters. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he gains indestructible until end of turn. So he protects Y'shtola, and the non-creature spells protect him. 5 mana is a lot to hold up for a protection spell, especially when he himself is a creature spell, so it doesn't actually sort of further your plan elsewhere.
The synergy makes sense, but I just don't think it's there.
And on top of that, indestructible isn't as good as it used to be.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of bounce. There's a lot of exile running around.
What if somebody has a dismember?
Temporary. It's half cover. Yeah. What if someone has a dismember?
Right? That kills it.
All right.
Okay. The next card is, I feel like this has got to be a beloved character of some sort.
He's so cute.
Tataru Taru.
He's so cute.
Which is 1 and a white for a 0/3 legendary creature, Dwarf Advisor. When Tataru Taru enters, you draw a card and target opponent may draw a card. And then it has Scion's Secrecy. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if it isn't the player's turn, create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. I like this card. It's neat. It just doesn't have a lot of, doesn't have a ton of built-in synergy to the deck, really.
I think that's fair. It's not necessarily the kind of deck that is giving your opponents cards to ensure that they're doing that. Your opponents should be drawing cards on their own, but that isn't always the case.
Yeah, this isn't a card that I'd draw and think it was bad, but I think if I drew pretty much any of the cards that we added to the deck, I'd rather have it in my hand.
I agree. Up next is Blue Mage's Cane. This is a 3-mana equipment. It's 2 and a blue, and it has Job Select.
Ooh.
Job Select is whenever it enters, it makes a 2/2 hero.
I think it's a 1/1.
1/1 hero? It doesn't say.
I think the hero tokens are 1/1s, but I'm not entirely
This
sure.
one has it. All right, I'm
That
going to
one
read
say
it.
it?
I'm going to read what this says. It has Job Select. When this equipment enters, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, then attach this to it. So it's living weapon-ish, but hero this time.
And for a little bit of lore background, in Final Fantasy XIV, your job is your class in the game, and you can change it. Mm-hmm. You're not locked in like you are in some MMOs and that kind of
so you
thing.
can move your equipment around and change your job.
Exactly, and I think it's based on pieces of equipment you have that kind of set it up.
So this would be the Blue Mage job, likely. But it says, equipped creature gets +0/+2, is a wizard in addition to its other types, and whenever this creature attacks, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from defending player's graveyard. If you do, copy it. You may cast the copy by paying 3 rather than paying its mana cost. And it has equipped 2. Whoosh, rough reading, but we got through it.
Yep.
So it gives it a little bit of a toughness boost, and whenever it attacks, you can cast something from your opponent's graveyard. I don't love this kind of card unless you're doing some active milling to
Yeah.
ensure that your opponents have stuff to target.
That's the problem here. It's like you imagine these magical, wonderful scenarios where your opponent has just these top tier sorcerers in their graveyard. And then if you don't make it happen, it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Like I just have run into this a bunch of times.
Not to mention, like, a lot of the stuff they're going to have in their graveyard costs less than 3. So you're paying 3 mana for a Swords to Plowshares, you're paying 3 mana for a Rampant Growth. Like, those are the things that would be in the bin early.
The age where there's just a ton of big, splashy battle cruiser, stuff
Type
like that
sorceries,
sitting in people's graveyards naturally is not really here anymore. At least, if your group does that, have fun.
Then it's cool. Yeah.
This next one is another of these job select cards. This is the Astrologian's Planisphere. This is 1 and a blue for an artifact equipment. It has job select, which we already explained. And then it says, equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types and has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell and whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And then it has equip 2.
Whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, you get...
Or cast a non-creature spell.
Okay.
So I get why it's here. It's non-creature spell payoff. But this is 2 to cast, and then it makes a 1/1, which grows if you cast another non-creature spell. You can put it on your commander for 2. I just think this is not much payoff for what you're doing.
And we've added some great payoffs, so losing some of them makes sense.
Because, it doesn't even initially come in with any 1/1 counters on it. Like, this starts out just being a 1/1 for 2 that then grows if you do stuff.
And doesn't trigger your commander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like, you put the 1/1 counters on that creature. So if that creature is killed, it's not like you've saved those 1/1 counters when you put it onto another one. You have to start the process over again.
Right.
I just don't think it's good.
I think that's fair. This next one was cut for similar reasons. This is Sage's Nuliths. It's 1 and a blue for an artifact equipment. It also has job select. It says equipped creature gets +1/+0, has whenever this creature attacks, untap target attacking creature, and is a cleric in addition to its other types. Equip for 3. This doesn't have a ton of synergy with the deck. You're not going to have a ton of attacking creatures. That isn't exactly a primary goal of the deck, and giving your commander simply +1 isn't enough to actually make it deal damage. Oh, not to mention your commander has vigilance.
Yep.
So the untap doesn't do a whole lot for you. It doesn't trigger your commander. It doesn't really help the game plan. Easy cut.
This next one, which is being cut, is Ardbert.
Oh no!
Warrior of Darkness. Sorry, Ardbert.
Ardbert.
I love Ardbert's name, obviously. He is 1, a white and a black for a legendary creature Spirit Warrior. He is a 2/2. And it says, whenever you cast a white spell, put a 1/1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain vigilance until end of turn. And then, whenever you cast a black spell, put a 1/1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain menace until end of turn.
Vigilance and Menace is pretty good, but this is a non-creature deck. It doesn't have that many legendary creatures, and we're cutting quite a few of them.
This doesn't do much in the deck. It just doesn't. This is clearly a card that you're meant to, build around or put in a Legendary Matters.
It's better with Grahat Tia
deck.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could see having this deck and just loading it up with white and black things and then, doing 2 color spells and getting a ton of things, and that could be fun. But it's not what's happening in this deck.
Yeah. The next one is Urianger Augerelt.
That's probably exactly how it's pronounced.
That's probably it, right? Urianger. It doesn't matter.
These are all like Welsh names.
There's Urianger Augerelt. I'm so sorry. White and a blue for a 1/3 elf advisor. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, you gain 2 life. Then it has 2 activated abilities. The first one is tap, look at the top card of your library. You may exile it face down. The second one is tap until end of turn. You may play spells exiled with Urianger. Spells you cast this way cost 2 less to cast. So you're going to want a lot of like untap style stuff. So you can tap it, exile a card, and then tap it to cast that spell. Or just a lot of ways to put cards into exile or cast them from exile. This feels like a very cool build around commander, but I don't think it has a ton to do with what we're actually doing in this deck.
Yeah, you want to be tapping and untapping and getting more uses out of this. It's just too slow here.
Yeah, without additional synergy, it doesn't add a whole lot.
The next cut was Into the Story. This is 5 blue for an instant, and it says this spell costs 3 less to cast if an opponent has 7 or more cards in their graveyard. And then it says draw 4 cards. This is not going to be enabled often enough, and it's just not quite enough of a payoff for when it is enabled.
Got a lot of card advantage. We've added even more.
Yeah.
I think that you cannot reliably make this cheap enough so that it is worth it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're casting this for 4 and drawing 4, yeah, that's a good rate. But again, you don't have any like mill built into stuff, so there's a world where you sit with this in hand and you kind of go, when am I going to be able to cast this?
Only good in the late game. Finally, there's a cheeky Bastion of Remembrance in this deck.
Yeah.
That's whenever it enters, you make a 1/1 human soldier, and then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is clearly more on the token plan for Grahatia. It's got a little bit of life gain stuff going on there. We're not going in that direction. We don't have a ton of sack outlets. I think it's not a great card in the deck overall.
A lot of decks Bastion of Remembrance is really good in. It's not a great incidental card.
Yes, I agree. All right, those are the 10 cards we're cutting. We've added 10 cards. The deck is perfect.
Yeah.
How does it play?
Well, Rachel.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said it a decent amount. I think this is going to be a pretty classic control deck going on here. So, Grahatia, Y'shtola is a whole plan. It is an engine, everything. I think my suspicion is that eventually Y'shtola will get a reputation as a deck to look out for.
Okay.
But I do think that one of the things that really is cool about her, we've talked about all these ways to enable her, you also just kind of will get incidental card draw by having her out. So I think when you play this deck, you still want to get Y'shtola out pretty early and then just let the card draw kind of be coming in, because you're probably not going to be people's like top priority. And then just build up your engine, build up your mana, that kind of thing, like happens in a lot of games. But when you switch into, okay, I'm in control and winning mode, like you need to have a lot of cards to be ready to go for that.
It is definitely a slow burn type of deck. You're not trying to rush out to the races. It's 1 spell per turn. You're casting a counter spell against like, oh, that was scary. You'll be like, I'm going to counter that. And start like
you can sit there being the cop of the group and people will be like,
yeah, I mean, you can let some stuff resolve. You don't even have to be 100%. The cop in the early game. But if you're the one that has the answer for like a big spell, people will give you a little bit of a pass for that. And I don't think this is like, with only the 10 upgrades that we did, I don't think it's like a hard control the entire game.
No.
It's more of a slow squeeze, where in the early game, you're casting a couple of things, you're drawing as many cards as you can like per turn,
what it's gonna do naturally too is just keep everyone's life totals going down and your life total staying the same or going up.
Right.
You know, just because incidentally how it goes on here.
Yeah. But
I will say, commanders that damage everyone do draw attention to themselves.
They do. Yes.
Even if it's just 2 mana each time or damage each time, if you are continuously saying, okay, everybody takes 2 damage. People take notice and will sometimes even overinflate how important your commander is in the thing. So that's why I think it's important to, when you start doing I'm doing it every turn, I'm hitting it, you need to have a plan. Like,
I agree. Commanders like this, the card draw may slip by unnoticed. It shouldn't, but it might. The more you hit, the more people, the more attention you're going to get. And it's funny because you probably won't be the bad guy for reasons that you will likely win the game, but you will be the somebody that needs to be answered because your life total keeps going up and theirs keeps going down. It's just a very visual representation.
One thing I do love about playing a deck like this is it definitely means whenever someone goes to attacks or whenever they cast something, they're all going to like turn and look at you and be like, does that happen?
Can I
Am I allowed to do that? And you'll go, sure, why not? I'm magnanimous.
There's not that many instances in the deck off the top. There's some,
That's true.
Yeah. Like you definitely get to have a bunch of mana open. You get to be unpredictable. You get to like have the answer when it matters to you.
Yeah, that's true.
And like have a little bit of, you're trying to be a more quiet control player, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think honestly the trick to a lot of control, especially in Commander, is like there's just no realistic world where you answer literally every threat.
Oh.
But you can give the impression that you can
answer
that you could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a very cool deck. It's very powerful, and it lets you sort of. What I really like about building decks like this is you can kind of put anything in it.
Definitely.
It reminds me of Octavia, where it's just like I can put whatever instance in the deck I want.
Yep.
They don't really have to do anything because what they do is make an 8/8. So if you have a spell that's like, any spell that's 3 mana with buyback is going to draw you a card, is going to deal 2 damage. Like it just you can put stuff in here that you like to play.
I absolutely considered Capsize for the upgrade. I think it didn't quite
That's
tickle
a
my
lot of
fancy
mana.
quite as much as
Slaughter. Slaughter's perfect.
But stuff like that,
yeah,
it's all gonna be fun.
There's definitely some very cool tricks that Y'shtola has up her sleeve. To the listeners, what do you guys think about this Precon? Are there any cards that we missed to add that you were like, where's this? Let us know. And then any cards we suggested to take out or add that you completely disagree with. We love having a conversation about these, especially these Precons that are going to be super popular. They're really cool and they're really pricey, but they're very cool. If you're like any of the cards that we talked about today, if you want to buy the single, if you want to build this deck, you can get the Precon. And you can get the cards that we talked about today on pre-order, hopefully, on cardkingdom.com/command.
Yep.
Card Kingdom has a ton of these cards all in stock. So if you go and you're like, okay, I want to get the cards for the upgrade. So when the deck shows up in my hand, I'm ready for it. I'm the kind of deck builder that once I've put a list together, I'm feral to play it. And I want the cards in my hand as fast as possible. And it's nice when they all come in one package. I can start playing as soon as possible. So shop at Card Kingdom. We trust them over here to give us all the cards that we're looking for safely, soundly in one package. And you're supporting the show when you shop with our affiliate code at cardkingdom.com/command. And then once those cards are in your hand, you got to keep them safe, keep them looking cool. Go to ultrapro.com/command. UltraPro probably won't have all of their Final Fantasy stuff on the website when you're seeing this, but they do have a ton of cool new stuff. There is a new Mana 8 storage line that are like bigger card storage. So there's like long boxes. There's one for each color. So you can store like your red cards in the red long box and the white cards in the white long box. And they also have some like bigger storage cases that have that sort of iconic white branding with the big logo mana symbols on them. So you know exactly where all your stuff is and it looks really great doing it. So go check out that new Mana 8 line over on ultrapro.com/command and tell them we sent you by using that affiliate code. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We've talked a lot about Magic. We've talked a little about Final Fantasy. Is there anything you want to talk about outside the world of Magic?
Well, has anyone talked about Blueprints?
No.
Yet? Oh, okay then.
Prince?
Blueprints. Prince like the nobility.
Okay.
But it is meant to also sound.
Blueprints? What is it?
I didn't talk about it in a instep.
Maybe we've just talked about it. Okay. Hit me.
So Blueprints, which is supposed to be a pun on Blueprints, is a new video game that is made by the person who makes the Mythic Spoilers website.
Oh yeah, I have heard about this. Yeah,
this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like a member of the Magic community who makes a site that I've gone through many times. And it is like a tile drafting puzzle roguelite.
Okay.
So if you've ever played the games like Betrayal at House on the Hill, where the general thing is you come into this house and it's a different setup of a house every day because every time you open a door, you look at 3 tiles and you choose one of them and they're different rooms. And so you build out this house and the idea is that you are someone who was granted your great uncle's estate on the condition that you find the 46th room in this 45-room house that changes every day.
Okay.
And it is something else. It is so cool. There's a drafting element. All the rooms have puzzles in them. There's so many details to the game. It's hard to describe how cool and in-depth the game is because there's just so much to discover as it goes on. You'll go through a room that you've gone through
go ahead.
10 times. And the 11th time, you'll suddenly notice something you hadn't noticed before and realize there was a puzzle in front of you the whole time. It's very, very cool.
That's fun.
Yeah.
How do you play? Is it a PC game?
Yeah, it's PC. I think it's on a couple other things too. I'm definitely playing it on PC right now. But if you do pick up this game and play it, I highly recommend getting a notebook and literally just making notes
That's cute.
as you go through and play it. And I haven't done that playing a game in a long time, and it's been a really neat, fun experience.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Blueprints, Prince, but also Prints, kind of.
Found everywhere princes are sold.
Yeah, get your prints now. A tiny prince for your pocket.
Just a little blue prince in my
Would
pocket.
you like a tiny prince, please? All right. It's time to go, but before we go, we want to say thank you to our amazing team here at the Command Zone who made this episode and all episodes possible. Thank you to Rachel Kendra, Karina Cruz, Christopher Matista, Sebastian Salazar, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jake Boss, Eric Lem, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, Josh Lee Kwai, Jimmy Wong, and of course to Jordan Pridgen. Me. We're talking about Final Fantasy XIV and some cat folks with me today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, a little kitty control for you.
Meow.
Thanks for watching, everybody. you say every time you counter a spell, you say meow,
Meow.
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 Excuse you, meow. Bye, everybody. Thanks
Goodbye.
for watching. I'm gonna counter this right meow.
Meow.